This podcast is sponsored by the Tollington Arms on Hornsey Road, a bubbly pub with a Thai kitchen home to thousands of Arsenal fans every season. Open daily from noon.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host Giles, and I thought about starting the pod with the sound of me sipping tea, but there's so many Arsenal fans that have been doing that where it seems a little bit strange, you know, and it's not really our cup of tea on the Gooner Ramble, is it?
Hey!
Get in there.
Get your grey ready.
It's all downhill from here. It's all downhill from here.
Downhill from here. All downhill. And as you can hear, my two esteemed colleagues are Akhil at 10. Akhil, how you doing, mate? You alright?
Oh, very well. To be fair, I think drinking tea is a good idea right now after everything else I drunk over the weekend.
Yeah, but you lot had it at Lars, didn't you? And also Dave at Gooner Dave 66. You alright, mate?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
So you've managed to navigate the phone. I'm so glad, because as much as I love you, seeing your ugly mug on my Skype isn't the image I want to go to bed with.
Oh, Dave.
All right. So hot takes, the emphatic and dominant performance over our near neighbours up the road, Tottenham. We'll be talking about. I also want to talk about if we can replicate. Have we found a blueprint, and can we replicate this form away from home? Obviously, we've got Burnley on the horizon next weekend. Teagate. We'll touch a little bit on this Mislintat guy from Dortmund, his new head of recruitment for us. What does it mean in the wider spectrum? And any other business that we can think about. So, without further ado,
Let's just have a bloody good sing song to him.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Actually, start with you. Remember last week, Phil said that he wants to be able to feel at the pain or joy from going and watching Arsenal. And he said he hadn't really felt that. He didn't really feel like, you know, he could be bothered. He was that bothered about what's going on at the Arsenal. You went there on Saturday. You were up there very early from what I could tell. What was the atmosphere? What was the feeling like? What was the feeling like going up there?
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, sorry, who were you talking about initially?
Phil.
Who didn't?
Phil was saying that last week.
Phil,
Phil Costa, yeah.
Well, no. To be fair to him, what he said is that sense of caring in terms of has gone down a little bit. We don't seem to care as much as we used to. Arsenal losing now doesn't ruin our weekend as it once did, maybe because we're getting used to it. I think that's what he meant, just to be fair to him. But as I think we mentioned last week, and then I certainly mentioned it, that the North London derby to me is, I wasn't thinking long term. You know, I think you asked the guys, what does that mean long term? But really, I wasn't too bothered what it meant long term. For me, it was all about having a good day, having, you know, obviously enjoying the game, watching the game, winning the game, having those banter rights over Spurs, just basically calming the world down a little bit. There's all this Spurs loving and Spurs are this and Spurs are that, and Dele Alli, Harry Kane, Eriksen's are, you know, they're kind of the best thing since sliced bread at the moment. And there's certainly Pochettino is, you know, when you read all those articles about, you know, Pochettino's first couple of seasons here are replicating Arsene Wenger's first couple at Arsenal, and you think, you know, Arsene Wenger won doubles, won trophies, competed for the league every season, went in the cups. You know, he got to the UEFA Cup final in '99, and you think, hang on a little. I mean, people are getting very excited. Either these journalists who are writing it were very young and don't remember, or they're just talking absolute bollocks. And I think that's what it was for me. It was just that, you know, we are Arsenal Football Club. You know, Spurs, yeah, they're a good side at the moment, and you know, no one will deny that. But are they a bigger club than Arsenal? Absolutely not. And I just think, you know, those effing twats needed reminding of, and so did their fans, and so did some parts of the media. It's unfair to say all the media, but some parts of the media, and it just in general the world. And you know, I'm so pleased to say we absolutely answered that. Back to your question. Atmosphere-wise, it's you know, it's obviously quite an early kickoff. So there was people everywhere from about, I mean, I got around about 8:30, which you would wonder what the hell I was doing there from 8:30. But I'd been out the night before, hadn't slept much, and just thought if I go to sleep, I'm probably not going to make it in a very good state. So let me just carry on, which I regretted on Sunday. But there was a lot of people around. There was excitement, but I don't think there was anyone really expecting much. I think people were just hoping for the best, hoping for a good day. And that was it really. And then obviously as we got close to kickoff, I think what changed it was obviously that sort of team lineup, to see Mesut Ozil, Alexis Sanchez and Lacazette playing in the same team in a big game against your North London rivals. From that moment is when I sensed that actually, you know what? People are now suddenly up for this, and that wasn't because I was 3 or 4 Jaeger bombs in, which might have helped. But it just did something. People were then saying, "Oh, Mustafi's back as well, isn't that great?" And Kolasinac has obviously got over his little bit of, he obviously was carrying a little bit of an injury around the Man City time, and Ramsey and Xhaka are playing together, isn't that great? And people were suddenly a little bit more positive again, and it then that last kind of 40 minutes, I think, before kickoff there was just excitement, and you felt that in the ground as well as the players came out. That was as loud as I've seen it in a while. So yeah, that kind of, I think it was the team lineup, team announcement. That's what just turned it a little bit, atmosphere wise.
Dave, would you echo those thoughts? I mean, what was your feeling lead up to the game?
Yeah, I'd liken it very much to the Man City semi-final. Really, everyone intent on having a great day, hoping for the best, not necessarily convinced it was going to be that way. But just really buzzing because of the occasion and the game, and also echo what Akhil said about, really wanting to shut the media up. But I guess it was all hope rather than expectation. But boy, they certainly delivered. And as the atmosphere just cranked up, the better the game got, really.
And going into the game, so I thought I said before the game, when I saw the actual lineup, the Tottenham line, I was cock-a-hoot with our line. I think, Dave, you said that was the first time we've actually played. That was our strongest 11. I think it's the first time we've played it this season.
I think it is. Well, I've written something for tomorrow morning, and I've said that, but I put in brackets, I think, because I didn't check back. But I think
it is because Per played at Everton.
Yeah, Mustafi.
And the other one was a home game, wasn't it? Was it Bournemouth? Was it? It was a game when no, Sanchez came on then. So maybe it was the third.
It was the first time the front three and Mustafi had played, and those four are part of our strongest lineup. And then I looked over to the Tottenham team, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, they're built to counter attack," and I thought, "No, I don't." It may look like they're built to counter attack, but I think they're here to confirm what the media. The hype is that they're here to confirm their status as the top dogs in North London. And I had a strong feeling that they would try and, assert themselves and set the tone. And, if you look at the numbers and whatnot, that certainly seems to be the case. Like they had more passes than us. I mean, you look at the metrics, it speaks for itself. And in the first 35 minutes, first half an hour, it was really sort of like toing and froing. There was nothing to choose between us. I think they had a good few early chances as well. I think Cech was called into action. I think Christian Eriksen might have hit a post outside of the post and whatnot. And it was pretty even Stevens. And the first goal, if I remember rightly, came from Mesut Ozil winning the ball down our end, laying it off to Ramsey, who flicked it up. Give it.
I think there was a bit more in that. There was actually
we cleared it from our.
What we did do is we were winning every header in our box. And I think Monreal, might have been the one to win the header. It dropped to Koscielny, who then gave it to Ozil. Ozil back to goal. It took 2 touches there and took 2 of their players out of play, and then the rest of it you described pretty well.
So, Ax, seeing as you jumped in here, did you think that was a foul? Did you think that was a foul?
No,
it wasn't.
No. So firstly, that ball from Ramsey, was first class.
It was Xhaka-esque, wasn't it?
It was, and funny enough, we had one from Coquelin later on in that bit when Sanchez went through and could have won a penalty. So they were all at it, and that was something we kind of saw, that the Spurs back line, and I think that was that was tactical from us. That Spurs back line had stepped forward. And, you know, I mean, me and Dave sit block 31, so we had a good view of kind of that. The foul, I guess, was kind of not in line with us, but fairly close. But you did see their back three or back five, whatever you want to call it, stepping up a fair bit, and you were thinking that, you know, we've got behind you a couple of times, because we obviously had they had the early warning when Ramsey played Bellerin in, who played it across, and Lacazette just didn't get there. And you thought, there's a lot of space there, so you can see that. So you saw that Ramsey ball go, and you knew what Sanchez was going to do. Of course he was going to put it across Sanchez to kind of, you know, but was it a foul? No. Even at the time, I thought he's got the ball clearly there. We even saw Mike Dean, you know, do that little action of the shirt pull. So then maybe I thought, maybe he has got that right. I don't know. But seeing it again, no, it wasn't a foul. But, you know, there was one later on in the start of the second half when Mustafi got booked, when it was something similar. He got the ball. It wasn't a foul, but Spurs got the free kick. The difference was we scored from it.
Indeed.
Quite a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, that's life. It's football.
And Dave, describe the moment when you saw the header loop in. I mean, it must have been absolutely, it must have went off even down your end.
Yeah, I mean, well, we all went absolutely mental. I can't remember which goal it was because Akhil, you ran down to me for the second.
That was the second goal, yeah. First goal,
first goal. It was just such a towering header, but it was almost like you knew. I think they asked Mustafi in the interview after the game whether he knew when he connected with it. He must have done, because you wouldn't see a more perfect header. And as he said afterwards, he knows. You know, you can be confident going for the ball and knowing you're going to do it, because you know that Ozil's going to put it where you want it to go. So, I mean, that's what he said. They're obviously German teammates. I mean, I know Ozil can deliver a good ball. He's not as consistent as I'd like, but that particular ball was just, absolutely world class. Fantastic. And, Mustafi was just majestic the whole game, to be honest. Everything he did. He did get booked for no reason. A lot of Spurs players who should have been booked weren't. You know, it was the absolute opposite of what everyone would have expected from Mike Dean, which hasn't really been mentioned, given in the build-up how much was going on about how Mike Dean's going to be their 12th player. He was actually pretty harsh. He was actually pretty harsh on them. Really, as well. But I mean, obviously with that decision, he didn't book as many of their players as I thought deserved it, but he certainly didn't do us any favours. So we won it fair and square. I mean, you said it was nip and tuck the first 30 minutes. It's all a bit of a blur to me. I thought we were generally on top and deserved to be in front. And what I loved about the performance was that I thought we dominated, for long periods of the first half and got what we deserved. And then you're sitting there at half time thinking, okay, how many times has 2-0 not been enough for us? And what I loved even almost as much as the emphatic nature of the first half in the attacking play was how organised and disciplined and concentrated and resilient we were in the second half in defence, because Spurs were going to come and have a go. They had to, and they did. I'm not saying they had lots of clear-cut chances, but we just, every sniff of danger, we just snuffed it out. It was really, really rewarding to see both sides of Arsenal, because the first half and the attacking play, we know we can do that. What we don't know is whether we can defend against good sides. And with Mustafi back, it looks like we can, so long may it continue.
Just to sum that, is 2-0 enough? At half time, me, Dave, we had a beer, and there was 6, 7 of us in the picture. There was a couple of people who were with me. Alex Brooker was in the picture. There was a couple of others, and we actually said, let's not tweet this until after the game, just because otherwise this is going to absolutely, this is going to kill us if it turns around. So we kind of, that sums it up. How we felt, that we thought, well, we're playing well here, but I think Dave said we need a third. I thought we just need to at least get 20, 30 minutes into the second half. As it is fine. And we should be okay. But, that kind of sums it up that we were too scared to post a picture of us having a beer and enjoying half time.
You talked about Mustafi's influence, and I sort of just did a bit of reading up. And he's, in the 6 games that we've played with him, we've lost 1 game, conceded 1 goal, which was a Stoke City goal. We've won 4, drawn 1, and scored 9 goals. Without him, we've won 3, lost 3. conceded something like 13. I think we scored 12 or something like that. So, it just makes a mockery of this whole room, whether it's true or not, about us looking to, allowing him to leave to go to Inter Milan and whatnot. I mean, people talking about Gabriel having a great season at Valencia, but my word, Mustafi and Koscielny and Nacho Monreal, that's the back three that you want in our defence.
Yeah. I mean, I've written about it for tomorrow morning, and the point is, it's not just the three players; it's the ability to play those three players in those positions. Yeah. Because when Koscielny was having to play in the middle, when Mustafi was injured and Holding was playing on the right, Koscielny's not that player in a three. It doesn't work for him. He's not that dominant type of defender. He's world class, but he's not dominant. And then when Koscielny was playing on the right and Per was playing in the middle, again, Per's legs have gone. He had one or two good games, but he was never that. He's not going to attack the ball. He's not going to do what Mustafi does. And also, Per is a talker, but not a real aggressive and organisational talker, or so it appears. Koscielny definitely isn't. So not only is Mustafi the right player to play in the middle, but he's the best communicator we've got in the defence. So it just made such a difference having him centre. I remember when he came back after his injury last season at St Mary's. I can't remember who played either side of him, but he came straight back in and played in the middle of the three, and we looked at a completely different team. That's why the FA Cup final was such a miracle, really, because I think, the question marks are around, is the three really working for Arsenal, or is it just, if I'm cynical, we're playing a three to enable us to play Xhaka and Ramsey? And let's be honest, we've all thought that.
Yeah.
And we're not actually defensively any better as a three. No. It just allows us to play other players in the positions he wants to play them. But on Saturday, when you see those three with Nacho on the left and Koscielny on the right and Mustafi in the middle, then we do look like a much, much better defensive side. So long may it continue, because, as you say, all those rumours in the summer, I'd hate to think of Mustafi leaving now. I really would. I mean, I think he could be, if we can get him settled, he could be an Arsenal player for 5 or 6 years in that position.
And if you go on,
just to add that one game you're talking about, the game we conceded and lost was obviously away to Stoke, where actually it was Nacho Monreal that played in the centre. Kolasinac played on the left of him, and Mustafi played on the right. Because if you remember, that was when Bellerin played on the left wing back, and we still had Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. So again, that one, you can kind of write that one off a little bit as well, because that was a very, very makeshift kind of back line, and we had injuries, and so I think he has definitely been a player this season. And in terms of him leaving, I mean, that it is quite a weird one, because it was quite strong, what kind of, what was coming out, and there was, he has had a baby daughter kind of recently, and there was a little bit of kind of, I think he was a little unsettled from a family life point of view.
Rather than something about going back to Switzerland or being
with it was a bit closer to the wife's family, his in-laws and his parents even. So I think there was, but I mean, the one thing is Arsenal really strongly denied it. Ivan Gazidis has, on 2 separate occasions, absolutely denied it, very strongly. And Mustafi himself this weekend kind of denied it. So you just think that, maybe he was unsettled. Maybe there was a little bit of noise. Maybe Inter Milan did inquire, but maybe Arsenal did the whole time actually say, we're not keen to sell really. But yeah, I mean, as Dave says, I'm glad he stayed, and I think he's now got a long-term future. There was moments last season where we were thinking, have we overspent on a player like this? But
the thing is though, if you look at the beginning of his Arsenal career, I think we went 20 games without defeat with him in the side. It was at the turn of the year, I think he had got an injury and he was never quite the same. Then people started to turn. I think I've had a few words to say about him, but I always thought it was odd that we would even consider selling him after 1 year. I mean, he wasn't that bad.
I just think it just, the English Premier League and the English game caught up a little bit with him, as it does with so many players when they come from abroad. I just think, I know he had kind of been at Everton for a short time, but in terms of real first team experience under pressure, Arsenal's totally different to playing in Spain. So, I just think it was that blip that happens to most players.
I think he's so well suited to a 3 as well, though, because last year there was a degree of indiscipline when it was just him and Koscielny. He would rampage up the pitch with the ball, lose it, and we'd be left sort of, a bit loose, a bit slack at the back because he disappeared upfield, or he would jump for headers that he was never going to win, and they'd go past him. He just seems to have ironed all those problems out. Really.
Or he would look the other way.
Or the back 3 definitely suits him.
Yeah, indeed. Tottenham were always going to come and press us. That's part of their game. And as you said, Axe, they do kind of press high. They're quite compact in that sense. And I suppose the worry was that, we'd seen Xhaka get caught, under pressure. Bellerin also has been caught under pressure and whatnot. And the worry was, how were we going to counteract that? And from what I could tell, for one, we were very fortunate, I suppose, that Wanyama wasn't playing and Dembele wasn't quite himself. Sissoko, for all his power and running, does kind of strike me as a sort of Alex.
I was chuffed to see him play.
He was like, he's a sort of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, he's all power, all physicality, great running with the ball, but not much end product. And so it was left to I suppose, a not match fit Dembele to sort of like, carry the load of that central midfield. And I think we really managed to nullify that or counteract it and then nullify it quite effectively, by making sure that Xhaka we didn't put him under pressure. We didn't leave him in moments where he could dwell on the ball. It was quick ball, quick play, get it out wide. Our fullbacks, our wingbacks, and I said this in a couple of tweets on Sunday, that I noticed that our wingbacks, especially, Bellerin, were pushed up really high, almost as wing forwards, keep that width. And, was always talking about maintaining the width. And we did that really effectively. And then we allowed the front three, AOL, to kind of stay central and do their thing. And then it allowed us to have one-on-ones with their fullbacks and wingbacks, and we really seemed to exploit that pretty well.
We just played them better at their own game than they normally play. I mean, we outpressed the pressers.
Yeah.
And given how poor we were trying to do it against Man City, where it was like Sanchez doing it on his own and trying to encourage his teammates to follow him in the press, it seemed like it had been worked upon. We were hunting in 2s and 3s. We didn't give Tottenham's midfield any time on the ball. But I think we have to be fair and say, as you've said, they missed Wanyama and they had to drop Dyer back into defence. I think that affected them. Dyer's obviously been playing in midfield all season.
We talked about that, didn't we?
And they really, I mean, we did. We said it was probably going to affect them, and I was sort of hopeful that Winks would play ahead of Dembele. But as you just said, I don't think Dembele is anywhere near fully match fit, so he wasn't the force he has been.
Indeed.
I just thought our pressing was so in sync, and I do wonder if that's when Sanchez is up top leading the press. I'm not sure he's the best at leading the press. I mean, he does things by example often, but I think he does get a bit, overexcited is the wrong word, but he gets in the moment a little bit and potentially doesn't follow, the tactical orders that the rest of the team are following. And maybe having him in his number 10 role, slightly on the left-hand side, just meant that he wasn't the one deciding when we pressed or not. He had to go with the team. And maybe that made that had an effect.
Well, from what I could see, they shared it. Him and Lacazette both shared the alert. If one went, then the other 3 would go behind, like the other 3 being one of the other 2 of the AOL, and then Ramsey would also back them up. Or if it would be Alexis, it would be the other. So they kind of shared that responsibility.
But at City, it was Sanchez going at every opportunity. There wasn't no strategic planning.
Exactly. And I think we, like you probably think that Wenger probably told us to sit off, stay compact. Let them have the ball in certain areas, and then we block our 18-yard line. Whereas Saturday, completely different. But then again, looking back to the Man City game, we're not going to be playing Man City's every week. They're a different kettle of fish. But our pressing was much more coordinated. We made them play long and wide, which I was hoping that we would be doing against Man City, but Man City had a different kettle of fish. But we stressed Davinson Sanchez, and I think he's a really good defender, but I'm not sure he's great. I'm not sure he's great on the ball, and I think Man United actually exposed that, in the Europa Cup final. Dyer, he's okay, but he's no Alderweireld on the ball. and we really sort of like stressed them. We made them play. We made them play.
We could see they were unsettled. There was that moment, and I always look for moments in the game where I can tell where is a team comfortable or not. And there was that bit when Lacazette got his foot in there, and then the ball fell to Sanchez when Spurs were trying to play it out from the back, and you just felt that they weren't quite comfortable there, and they went direct a lot of times.
Indeed.
But they kept losing. I mean, there was that one chance Harry Kane had right at the start when I think either Mustafi or Koscielny had gambled on the header.
They both went up together, yeah.
Well, that's probably the only mistake they made, really. And obviously it didn't cost us. But apart from that, whenever they went direct, I felt like we won every header in the game.
Indeed.
It's good. It was good that Dele Alli wasn't playing as well.
Yeah, and Christian Eriksen as well. After the first 5 minutes.
I mean, I know we're going to talk about the second goal, but I got to say, my favourite moment from that whole game, whole day, whole season, has been when he took Ali and Kane off, because it was just, I don't know, for me it was just admitting defeat a little bit. I know he brought on Son, who's a very good player, but he brought on Llorente, who hasn't really done much in a Spurs shirt. And to me, it just, I mean, maybe they weren't fit, I don't know, but to me that was just a bit of a moment where that's when we thought,
What was the title of our last week's blog?
It was time to shift the momentum.
There
you go.
Yeah. No, honestly,
There's
I
your
think
moment.
them two coming off, it felt like, we've got this, lads. Easy. Back to normal. Routine. 20 years out of 21 years. Yeah, we're back to normal. It just felt.
Even Coquelin looked like he had he was able to do anything when he came on. Everything was right. Nothing went wrong. I suppose the only thing we could have asked for extra was that we got a little cameo from Jack. But apart from that, it was a perfect day.
Indeed.
Got to talk about the second goal, though.
We've got to talk about that second goal. We've got to talk about it. Talk us through it then.
Well, you did kind of throw me there. All right, so what? God, I remember the bit when Bellerin got it and played Lacazette through.
Yeah.
Before that, there was a little bit. There was actually a little bit of intricate passing, wasn't there? Quite again, we maintained width on the bar line when actually it looked like Bellerin had lost it, but. Did Ramsey win it back, or was there? And then it went back to Bellerin, and that's when was it Davis just kind of stood off him, and you just thought like, "Oh, go on, Hector, son, you got a bit of time there, pick a pass." And obviously, you can argue. I mean, Spurs will argue that was offside, but you see that clearly. His arm's offside. You can't score a goal with your arm. This was we've had a few this season, and this was. For me, this was on. Mustafi potentially on the first goal was just off, but it's so tight that with a naked eye you can't see that. But this I thought was fine. And then obviously I thought, we talked about it last week, didn't we, about Sanchez and obviously there's someone here who thought we shouldn't have played Sanchez, but trust me, you weren't the only one. There's millions out there, and I questioned it before as well. That will we get that commitment from Ozil and Sanchez? And we bloody well did. And I think Sanchez owes us that. He's still here. We're still paying his wages. We're still playing him, and I thought Lacazette did hit that to him. It was kind of uncomfortable height. His control, it let it bounce three times. Lloris was having a little dance, weren't he, in goal? He was going to fall it looked like he was just going to fall in the net. And, the finish was great. And it was just, that's the moment where I think people in the ground started to really think, wow, yeah, this is good. This is what we want. And that's
brilliant work by Lacazette as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, what happened was, I think we got the ball off of it was a blind pass from, I think, Christian Eriksen actually. And then, we managed to recycle the ball back. And then, as you say, I think it might have been Bellerin that set him.
It was Bellerin.
And obviously he couldn't have been offside with his forearm. The passing was very firm. The cutback was very firm. And the thing is, it came at an awkward height for, Alexis, and he did really well, because I actually think whether he was adjusting his feet or he made the goalkeeper move first, I'm not sure, but that he kind of delayed his shot. He delayed the pullback, and it made Lloris sort of like have to go like make a move, and he stuck it in. And I thought it was a brilliant piece of play from Alexis, because it was a tight angle. It was a really tight angle. But as you said, at that point, that's when you knew, something's afoot here, and I was really happy for Alexis in that, because in that game on Saturday, he'd been much maligned, especially, for his performance at Man City, where he looked out of sorts. Everything he tried didn't come off, and he just looked, he just looked a shadow of the player that we've come to expect. I mean, Dave, you were saying, and I'm sorry to bring this back up, but you did say that you'd much prefer him not playing. I was in two minds about whether to start Welbeck, and the only reason I suppose I went for Sanchez is because Welbeck wasn't match fit. But you got to say,
well, you can only go on the evidence.
Yeah,
and the evidence against Man City just looked like he was a player who didn't want to be playing for Arsenal. I haven't necessarily thought that in any other game, but from what I saw in that game, his mind was elsewhere. And then obviously the stories about him going in to see Guardiola and the Man City players, and you just think, I was just so angry when we did that pod about that. So maybe a bit of heart rolling head. I can't change. I can't change that.
No.
I'm still remain convinced that he's not going to be here next season. And I'm still of the same mindset that, we shouldn't be keeping both players to the end of the season if neither of them sign. I'm not going to change on that.
Yeah.
It's all very well. They had one fantastic game, but also the previous game, they were both diabolical. So, let's not get carried away here. They've had one good game.
Do you think,
together, and I hope it does continue, but let's face it, it's one good game. Let's just wait and see.
Do you think though, do you think because it was this game, something in there was this inner self, this commitment to actually, play for the badge, if you want. Do you think it was because it was a North London derby, because of what was said about them, in the weeks leading up to this game, that, it made them it galvanized them to prove people wrong?
Well, probably. I mean, then Mesut Ozil was interviewed after the game, and he says he always plays with that, with the same commitment for Arsenal and everything. Well, I'm sorry, my friend, it doesn't always show. So, if it's easy for you to play like that, can you just do it every week? It'd be really nice, thank you.
I think there's been so much recently in the press, and I think a little bit with the 89 film coming, it's an opportunity for obviously a lot of the 89 squad to be giving a lot of, media interviews and stuff about the film. But naturally they get asked about kind of the current team, and there was a lot about commitment. We talked about it last week with Lee Dixon saying how the players held him up. Tony Adams held him up, told him what it meant. And at the 89 after party, when we were talking to Steve Bold, I actually said that, I kind of brought that up and said, I found that bit that Lee Dixon said really fascinating. And obviously in this team, there's a couple of players like Jack, who's there, but the rest of them have been kind of brought in, even players like Kieran Gibbs, who knew what it meant, has kind of moved on now. And I said, does it really have to come from you and probably Arsene Wenger now to kind of get them ready? And he goes, we will be ready. We'll have them ready. And there was just something in his look that I just thought, fair enough. He's a big lad, so you're not going to argue with him. But it was just, I don't know, it seemed like he potentially felt the responsibility. I mean, you could argue that, hasn't he been doing that for years? I don't know, but there was something in that, and I just think maybe having all these kind of ex-pros, kind of tell them pretty much that they don't care as much as the ex-pros did, potentially had an impact. And there was something was done well there. There was something, they were motivated, they were committed, they wanted every ball. I don't know, there were all the players that have been questioned recently, like Xhaka, even Mustafi, they all seemed like they really wanted it. And I don't know. You just got to congratulate them.
Well, I think they said Ray Parlour selected 7 out of his starting 11 from the combined team of Spurs players. And I think Perry Groves had 6. And as Perry Groves said on the radio on Friday, all Wenger and Bold have got to do is stick my team up and Ray Parlour's team up in the dressing room before the game. He said that'll get them going.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just those players. Everybody, the paper was selecting a combined 11 that only had 2 or 3 Arsenal players in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonder what they're saying now.
And often those players weren't Ozil or Sanchez. They were, so actually there was even more for those two in particular, maybe. Maybe there's an element of shop window in there as well with January coming, but end of the day, we got what we wanted.
Indeed. And not only was Ozil a chief creator, but I mean, his work in defence in his defensive actions was prodigious as well. I mean, we've seen
was very good.
we've seen him using Dele Alli off the ball. I saw him chasing back and tackling other players and whatnot. He's starting off attacks and whatnot. He was a different beast on Saturday.
Interesting that he played in deeper role twice before that game for Germany.
Yeah,
maybe that's got something to do with it, because maybe he had a bit more responsibility as being the senior pro in a slightly younger German side, and he was. But I didn't see the second game they played, but now against England he played obviously in the double in a pivot, didn't he? So interesting that he was. That might have had something to do with it, I guess, because he's definitely done a lot of defensive work for Germany, and he replicated it against Tottenham.
Indeed. Okay, so Teagate. I actually did want to talk about replicating this form away, but we'll come to that. Let's just talk about Teagate. I mean, Dave, what did you make of it?
Do you know something? I was in and out of Twitter yesterday, and every time I went in, I saw bits and bobs about it. I didn't really follow it all day. I saw I saw the odd bit, and when you click on one tweet, you see the other tweets. I saw some silly exchanges between journalists, very young journalists, I would have to say, not apart from Henry Winter. Not senior, also Neil Custis, but there's Michael Delaney and the actual guy concerned. And I've looked at their pictures. I mean, I put the pictures in a blog, so we had a blog on the Gunners Town about it today, but they look like they're just out of school. And obviously it's affecting them. But I think our good friend John Cross had it right when he just said, "Oh, come on, guys. It's the individuals."
He was spot on.
It's the individuals you should be having a go at. Stop having a go at Arsenal Football Club. We do it, they do it. Let's just grow up a bit here and accept it for what it is. So the whole thing's just ridiculous. And as we discussed on the phone earlier, Giles, it's a shame that it's sort of overshadowed, all the praise for what a fantastic performance, and everyone's talking about some stupid, Twitter argument,
I mean, obviously it's my industry. Social media is what I do for my day job. And it was like you on Sunday. I wasn't in any state to care about anything, to be honest. But today I've certainly taken an interest and spoken to a few people, as obviously I do know people at Arsenal and the comms team and all that sort of stuff. So it very much, it was banter, really. And I think a football club, as John Cross he said on the Sunday supplement, it's kind of if someone's allowed to question someone or someone's allowed to give a bit of banter, then surely whoever they are allowed to respond. And there was people saying about it's an official account and they should know what kind of effect that has and what kind of consequences that has, but really, is that Arsenal Football Club's problem? I mean, that's more to do with the actual, as Crossy said, with the social media platforms. It's their responsibility to police it, to school it, to kind of control it, and with the police, with whoever, it's up to them. I mean, they're making a lot of money from these social media platforms, so they need to work for it. And all Arsenal did was tweet a GIF of Mesut Ozil having a cup of tea because this journo didn't put any Arsenal players in his team, and even the most negative of Arsenal fans would probably at least put maybe Bellerin in because I think he is the better right back. Put potentially, Sanchez in. I think all it was a little bit of banter. And I think
is there a social responsibility? Is there a social responsibility on Arsenal's admin side to actually be careful, like to think before they tweet, because if you've got 12 million followers,
well, it wasn't aggressive.
I know, but what I'm saying is
it wasn't controversial.
It wasn't, but
when you compare it to the Alonso elbowing Bellerin that Chelsea tweeted,
yeah.
That is controversial. I mean, I don't recall the media outrage at that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a quote retweet. It wasn't an open tweet. It was a reply. Firstly, so it was a bit of banter.
Should Arsenal have responded to the Mail Sport rather than the individual? Because they would have had to sort out Adam Kraft and whatever his name is to actually.
Yeah, but I think that the piece had a couple of journos in it that had done their team. Yeah, potentially they could have responded to a couple of the media outlets, but it was very quick after time, social, so real time. Sometimes things like that do happen. But yeah, maybe it would have been better going to Mail Sport. But I mean, if you look at sort of the most powerful man in the world is the president of the United States, you would argue, and look at his Twitter account. every single media outlet daily should be absolutely banging their drum to get Donald Trump banned from Twitter. Because if you want someone who's going to really, get people wound up and do that sort of thing, then it's Donald Trump. So for me, Arsenal, a bit of banter, defending the club. And you know what I did notice is Arsenal pretty much sat back a little bit as well and let the fans kind of take the battle. So then it became Arsenal fans against the media. And for once, we were actually quite
unified. We were unified, weren't we?
We'd just beaten Spurs. Yep. Happy days, and now we were all united against the media. And I think, when I say the media, I don't mean all the media, because as you say, someone like John Cross was quite supportive of what Arsenal did. But in terms of, it was just, I think some things that the media have said about Arsenal have really wound people up, and I think this was a bit of an opportunity to just kind of fight back a little bit and just to show that, like you just said, Chelsea, and what Dave just said, that Alonso, actually, it knocked Bellerin out pretty much. Bellerin had to go off. Bellerin couldn't play football for the rest of the game. I mean, and then Chelsea used that for their next game against Arsenal when they were playing us this season. They used that as the kind of introductory video. I mean, Man United have done that as well. When someone tweets about Zlatan Ibrahimovic not scoring 10 goals, I'll be surprised if Zlatan scores 10 goals. United sent them a reply after he scored 10. Big faces. I mean, it's happened before, but funny enough, this people wanted to talk about this one. So, I'm proud of Arsenal. I'm proud of the Arsenal fans, and I think everything about Arsenal this weekend was absolutely fantastic, and I wouldn't change any of it.
It's all a storm in a teacup, innit? Right. I'm on one tonight. That caffeine's gone right into my system. Right. So, taking it back to football on the field matters. Is there, Dave?
Let's look into the tea leaves ahead of the Burnley game.
Yeah, my son. Right. So, is there anything? What can we take away from the game plan that we set out with against Tom? Is there anything we can take away and we can use? I mean, the purpose was for me was really shone out for me. But Dave, I mean, what do you take away from Saturday's game that you want to see replicated?
I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, it's obviously, in the selection, I wouldn't change a thing. I think what's going to be slightly different is, we're playing against a team in Burnley who are not going to press us, are not going to attack us. They're going to play like an away side. So it's a different set of problems, because whatever Spurs were going to do, they weren't going to sit and defend against us. So it's a different set of problems, but I would select the same 11, and I think we're good enough. We're simply good enough. We're just better than them. We just need to go and beat them and show them that. I really want Lacazette to start scoring for all his hard work as well. That would be so good. That's what would really make my weekend, if Lacazette starts scoring, and getting the goals that his work rate and his performance are justified.
Ax, I mean, Burnley are notorious for not, they exist on like 30% of the ball, if less. Yeah. So we're going to be seeing a lot of the ball. And last season, really tough game over there.
Just about.
The offside handball, if you want to call it that. It fell for us that day. They're really organised. They seem to have obviously they're a lot more experienced now. Sean Dyche is everyone's lips is, the next big thing.
Next Owen Coyle, yeah. No, I know what you mean, and their home form's good as well. I mean, what would I take from the Spurs game? Is it going to be a blueprint, as you mentioned earlier on? I mean, I'm not sure it is, purely because two of the players that starred in the game, their man of the match, Mesut Ozil, Alexis Sanchez, the goal scorer, potentially won't be here much longer. So, if that was Danny Welbeck in that Sanchez position for the second goal, he might have scored it, but you would have thought you're glad that fell to Sanchez, things like that. So I think it's in terms of quality, it's difficult to know what will happen just because of that. But what we can take is that heart, that commitment, that pressing game as well.
And I think that's the thing. That's the thing. Rather than the individual moments, it's more the actual game plan, the strategy.
Yeah. I mean, we certainly take the sort of aligned pressing and all that kind of things, because that was obviously good. And we know that there's players in our team that can come in and do the job, because it's all good. That kind of was our strongest 11, but once you get a couple of injuries or obviously potentially players leaving and others come in, then you kind of have to maintain that, and that's going to be the trick. But generally, it's going to be a different game at Burnley. We know that. I mean, it's in these big games now. We have kind of accepted that you don't always need the ball. And obviously, for years we were very much that Barcelona model that if you have the ball, then they don't have the ball, and they can't hurt you as much. But it wasn't really doing us very good, because even if we had it for 80%, we seemed to concede in the 20%. So we've kind of worked out that in big games that we don't actually need the ball as much. And for me, it was that Bayern game, wasn't it, a couple of years ago, when we literally had 25%, 28%, and we won at home. Yeah. So, but Burnley will be different, and you just hope that it's all about confidence as well, isn't it? At times, that once you've won a derby game like this, you're a bit more confident in the next game. You're more likely to try a delicate pass or a through ball, or you're more likely to try something which has a bit of quality, which could end up in a positive moment in terms of a goal. And that's what I'm looking for more. That I'm just looking to go to Burnley, get the 3 points, and just go on a run now. And for me, it's confidence. Arsenal have lacked confidence for a while now. We got a little bit in the cup run, maybe the semi-final, final, but generally I think we've lacked confidence for a while, and we can't seem to put a run together. And I mean a big run together. I know we after sort of post-Easter last year, we put a bit of a run, but you know what I mean. So we've got opportunities now. Burnley at home, Burnley away, Huddersfield at home. There's opportunities before that Man United game. It would be great to get 9 out of 9, potentially even win in Cologne just to keep that confidence going. And then, we've obviously got the cup as well, the Carling Capital One, whatever the fuck it's called. And you just think that there's winnable games there now in December as well, that you just think, come on, Arsenal, now, this is a springboard.
I haven't watched as much of Burnley, but will they play one up against?
They will probably play one up. They kind of go between a 4-5-1 and 4-4-1-1. And the thing is, as we know, they're not high in possession stats and pass completion and whatnot, but they do win a lot of aerials. They're very rudimentary kind of a team. They give up a lot of shots, actually. They give up a lot of shots, should I say, and that kind of plays into our hands. I'm thinking, they're probably going to give us the wide areas, just like Tottenham did that on Saturday. If we can be playing short passing, fast triangles down the flanks, we could probably get in behind them, and vary our delivery.
It's time for Monreal to be pushing high. If they're going to play one up, we could deal with that with 3 at the back, and let's get Monreal and Kolasinac as our outlets, and as you say, keep the width. That could be the way forward at the weekend.
Indeed. So hopefully we'll see another sparkling performance from the Holy Trinity and Aaron Ramsey. Okay, so we might as well just wrap it up here. We've also got some new guy, isn't it? The Diamond.
New head of recruitment.
Diamond. What they call him, Mr. Diamond Eye. Sounds like a James Bond villain.
Should we just call him Sven? Should we just call him Sven?
Yes,
it's probably a bit
Sven,
easier.
Yeah, it's Mensen Slat or something like that. He's the head of scouting at Dortmund. He's known
God, we sound so informed. We're so informed,
aren't we? Yeah, we're ITK. We are. You know what I mean? Axe. I mean, he's come in as head of recruitment. It's a big job, lots to do. It's another, I suppose, doffing his cap, another stripe on his arm for even Gazidis' quiet revolution behind the scenes that's going on.
Yeah.
What do you make of it? And the wider,
maybe the catalyst to change maybe meant more in the backroom. I don't know, but it's obviously we have seen a few appointments. We saw a few in the summer. We've now seen another one. Dick Law obviously left in September time. So at the moment, Ivan Gazidis has been kind of picking up the role, so to speak. And, Steve Rowley is rumoured to be retiring at the end of this season.
He's staying on as a consultant, isn't he? He's staying on as a consultant.
Well, there's a bit of noise that Arsene Wenger wants him to stay on as a consultant. Whether it will happen or not, we don't know. But so this guy's kind of come in. He's now the head of recruitment, so he is kind of a senior position. He's found players like Matt Hummels before, Shinji Kagawa,
Lewandowski, Aubameyang.
Lewandowski, Aubameyang, yeah.
And this midfield player that everyone wants to come to Arsenal in the summer.
Yeah, so he's exactly.
His name Goretzka.
there's a link there as well. I think he's found Dembele as well. He found Dembele, the one who went to Barcelona. So he's certainly very proven. Dortmund were quite scared to lose him. And I think Arsenal see him as someone who can fit in at Arsenal. You know, the job he was doing at Dortmund will be very similar. You know, at Dortmund, he was obviously battling against the likes of Bayern Munich to find these sort of players.
He's very good with this. He's very good with the data. Apparently he's built his own data suite before as well. So, you know, he'll probably know exactly what Stat DNA does, or he can familiarise himself with what Stat DNA.
He's good with IT like me then. The question I want to ask is he being called head of recruitment because Arsene Wenger won't work with the director of football?
Well, Arsenal have looked like Arsenal have briefed that there'll still be potentially one more appointment coming in, some sort of a director of football type role, but I probably won't be called that. And then whether their role might be sporting. Yeah. It won't maybe be as influential potentially as the director of football, but there certainly will be. Cause I mean, Dick Law did a huge job, and I think sometimes he got some unfair stick where I think he did really do a big job at Arsenal. And I think potentially we're kind of expanding the team a little bit, and we're getting two people kind of to replace him, but we've also got the guy from Team Sky as well in there. So, you know, there is things I think changing behind the scenes, whether it's a bit of a succession plan is now starting to happen, whether it's Arsene Wenger's, is he losing some of his power? Some might say he is, some might say he isn't. I don't know. I mean, it might be Wenger might really get on with this guy, and you know, it might have been his actual choice. I don't know. But there are things changing in the back, and I think that's really positive, really positive.
Timing is good. I mean, we've given him a couple of months to sort of get into the role before the January transfer market opens.
Well, it's not confirmed when he's going to start yet. That's one thing that hasn't really, I don't think, been confirmed yet. That is he actually going to be here before January, or is he going to join at the end of the season? I think there's some question marks there. But I'm sure in the coming days we'll learn more. So potentially by the time people listen to this, it might all be a lot more clearer.
Oh, okay. Because it's very, so I thought it was quite odd that Wenger would come out and actually make a statement about him. You know.
But there's been a lot of press in Germany. So I think maybe Arsenal were forced a little bit to kind of announce something a bit earlier than they wanted. Obviously Spurs are there now, which means there's a lot of English, British journalists there. So I think the story was probably just going to get bigger and bigger over the next day or two, and Arsenal kind of were a bit more proactive.
Cool. Alrighty then. I think that about wraps it up. You're off to Germany, and then you're over to Burnley on Sunday?
Yeah. Putting in the miles in the next. I'd fly to Germany on Wednesday. Gonna enjoy some German beer, which is obviously always good. Hopefully enjoy the game. Hopefully, you know, get to see Jack Wilshere play for 90 minutes. Hopefully Olivier Giroud's back. Walcott was ill, wasn't he? So he might be back. Ketia potentially get some minutes. Obviously we're qualified, so that's kind of great. And then back on Friday and off to Burnley on Sunday, which again, I mean, last year obviously Burnley was one of those games that was quite unique because it was the Wenger 20 years, and we won it in the final minute of the game, literally the last kick of the game, and you know it was quite it was
touch and go, wasn't it?
Pardon the pun. Yeah, so certainly won't be having much tea this week, but cool. Look forward to it.
All right then. So I want to thank my esteemed colleagues, Dave, for coming on. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Speak to you again soon.
Yep, and you, Akhil. Thanks again.
Yeah, very good.
Please.
I'll just go put the kettle on now.
Indeed, yes. Make one for me.
Enough.
Please subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, and all the platforms. Please like, subscribe, comment. We don't see enough. We don't know how we're doing. But, you know, a like, a subscribe, a comment would, you know, really sort of like set our week up really nicely. That's been a good round.
Finally, just prediction for Burnley. We haven't quickly done.
Oh, right.
2-0.
3-1 to Arsenal.
2-0 to Arsenal.
I will go 2-0 Arsenal too.
2 clear goals. We're all going 2 clear goals. All right, cool. So that's been a good round podcast.
Well, funny enough, the Anfield '89 film was out today. 2 clear goals. There's a theme there.
Indeed.
Yeah, sorry, I will let you finish this time. I'm really excited still. I'm still
Buzzing.
I had no energy on Sunday because I was obviously a broken man, but I've kind of got it all back
Second
now.
win now. Second win, indeed.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to the phone now.
Cool.
But anyway,
All right,
sorry.
Cool. All right, so that's been a Good Ramble podcast. Finally. I'd like to say I've been your host, Giles. Thanks for listening. Up your Arsenal.
Up the Arsenal.
Up the Arsenal.
Up the Arsenal. Come on, you Giles.
This podcast is sponsored by the Tollington Arms on Hornsey Road, a bubbly pub with a Thai kitchen home to thousands of Arsenal fans every season. Open daily from noon.